why is God so violent in the Old Testament? Why does he command Israel to go and kill people all the time, go wage war? Sometimes he even resorts to saying, kill men, women, and children totally, and cattle even, wipe out an entire nation. How could a loving God command such a thing? This is for sure a hard question, and I'm not going to be able to give like a totally satisfying answer, but just some thoughts. First of all, as Christians, we're not like a physical nation with like borders and a government and all that sort of thing. But Israel in the Old Testament was. They were a national, physical group of people. And so, and as well, God chose them to be the light of the world, and God was going to redeem and transform the world through them. So, if a nation wiped out Israel, the light of the world would have been wiped out. And I'm saying that to kind of stress the importance of Israel staying more or less safe and sound. Like not being totally annihilated, essentially. If you had some sort of object that you knew could save the world of world hunger, let's say, would you not do almost anything to keep this object safe and, around, so that the world could be saved? You know what I mean? Like it's for a better good that some of these things would have to happen. And so that's kind of like Israel was in God's eyes. Similarly, it's really helpful, I find, to think in terms of the lesser of two evils. So, for example, a lot of people in the world would say that it was good to try and kill Hitler. Although we often say that death is a bad thing, the lesser of two evils is for Hitler to die, as opposed to all the evil that he would have caused still happening had we kept him alive. If you see what I'm saying. And so, I suggest just trying to imagine a nation of Hitlers. Like, what if Hitler just had a bunch of brothers and sisters and kids, and it was just a nation of people all like him in one way or another. Just very messed up, evil to the core type of people that in one way or another we're just going to destroy the very fabric of people on earth. If we would say it's probably better to take out Hitler, in real life, would we not also by that logic say it's probably good to take out a nation of Hitlers, this imaginary nation of Hitlers? Probably. At least, a good argument can be made for that. And so what I'm trying to say with all this is that God, in his ultimate wisdom, saw or could have seen that the world is better off without such and such a nation. And it sounds terrible, right? Like genocide or just the mass slaughter of people. And I'm not trying to say that this should be a happy thing, or that we should not have trouble with this. We're always going to have trouble with death. It's good that we have trouble with death. Death is an evil thing. However, can we trust God that he chose the lesser of two evils? God didn't do evil. But God chose the option that would best serve the purposes of this world and this humanity that he has made. I would say we can trust him. And that's ultimately what this does come down to. Can we trust that God made the best decision? It's not out of vengeance. It's out of a desire to ultimately transform the world. And maybe they would have just hindered that plan to the point where the plan could not have worked with them there. Also, it's very important to remember that death is not the end. There's life after death, and it is very possible that all these people went to heaven after they died. So as Christians, we always have to remember that that's an option. Just because they were killed on earth doesn't mean they went to hell. God in his mercy and grace can choose whatever he wants. And then just another quick one. The Bible actually gives real examples of these other nations influencing them badly. Israel takes on worship of other people's gods, or takes on their culture or practices, and Israel becomes evil because of it, which is super detrimental, once again, to God's plan of redeeming the world through Israel. Once again, if Israel is God's one and only plan, God has promised, see, that's the thing, God has promised to bless the world through Israel. If other nations get in the way of that, that's a very bad thing. So God needs to keep Israel clean and pure, and so must sometimes use violence to keep Israel around and healthy and pure, so that ultimately he can help the most amount of people. I will use violence against this amount of people to help this amount of people. I don't know if that sounds convincing to you. Once again, we're not always going to have we're never going to completely come to terms with this, but here's just some thoughts to chew on.